Welcome back, YouTube. This is Derek, or Lycan101, and before we get started with today's video, I would like to give a special shout out to all of my new subscribers. I've noticed there's been an influx of people subscribing to my channel. I want to say thanks to all of you guys and girls, and thanks for subscribing to my channel. Glad there's people out there interested in what I'm talking about, and thumbs up to you guys. So what are we talking about today? Well, today's role-playing video, we're going to be talking about rewards. That's right, we're getting the money, we're getting the goods, we're getting that treasure. But what exactly do you offer as a reward as a DM? So many different things you can offer. There's all that equipment table, there's chapters and chapters in all of the role-playing books that are out there on what to give. But how do you decide? How do you make the decision on what to give players? Well, what I like to do is it all comes down to the situation. And it also comes down to the players. So let's say you just got a little treasure chest. Where's the treasure chest at? What is the history of the area? Who's in this place where the chest has been found? Is it in a castle? Is it in some ruins? Is it in a tunnel? Is it in someone's house? So you can automatically start lowering down that broad spectrum list of rewards options and treasure, depending on where the reward is found. So let's say, for example, it's in a castle. Automatically, when in a castle, I can do armor, weapons, maybe a little bit of magic, money, obviously. But then let's get a little bit deeper into it. Let's say, who originally owned this castle? Well, okay, it's some duke who decided he wanted to expand his borders through dark magics. I know, classic staple story, but go with it for me. So we can throw in some dark magic potions or scrolls and maybe some cursed objects. So you see how we're automatically building up layers to this treasure based upon the situation. And that was what I said was the first option. The second option is by players. I know some DMs, what they do is they like to get player wish list, if you will. It's items that the players really want to have, that they think are really good, that their character should have or really wants to have, or it'll make their character better. And that's always an option. However, what I find is if you do that often as not, you'll get situations where you've got players who are the min-maxers, which is not always a bad thing, but they're just trying to buff their character up, so they've got 32 AC and they hit on a critical hit chance of 12 and deal 28 damage per hit. That can cause problems, and that's where throwing out treasures that would increase those chances break the game. But that leads into the second part of rewards, is how much do you give as a reward. Now, there is a nice chart in Pathfinder that says character wealth by level, and that's always a good staple to go by. I believe second level says a player should have 1,000 gold to their name, or an equivalent of items worth 1,000 gold. And you'll stay pretty balanced. And then most of the time that chart is very accurate. Of course, high level play means that that chart is going to be ridiculous amounts of gold, and I find that if you can scale it back a little bit, then you're golden the entire game. And no matter what items you give, you can always have a nice balance of play. So just stick to the chart. If you feel things are getting a little out of balance, just pull it back by a couple hundred gold. This leads into what I was talking about earlier about what kinds of treasure to give. And what kinds of treasure do I give? Well, I always like to make it more than just gold and items. Don't get me wrong, gold and items are important. You can say, you found this treasure chest, or, you found X item or whatever. However, in longer running campaigns, I find what's also a better reward and treasure for a player is titles, favors, followers or service, extra experience, or a buff of some kind. And what do I mean by that? So, for anybody who's ever played Lord of the Rings online, they have a wonderful title system where if you kill a certain number of things, do a certain number of quests, explore a certain region in depth, then you gain a certain small bonus. So let's take, for example, I think it's called the Wolf Hunter title in Lord of the Rings Online. And what that means is after I've killed 25 wolves, I've developed a knowledge of combat against them, so I gain a little bit to attack. Or let's say the explorer of the Shire or something, and that means I've explored all the areas within the Shire and I've got a more knowledgeable base around the local area. And these bonuses are easily transferable to role-playing games. Take, for example, those two and just put them in the Pathfinder system. The Wolf Hunter, anytime I fight wolves, or you could even expand it to like a pack mentality kind of animal, that your character, if they have that title, gets a +2 to attack and a +2 to damage. Or the Explorer part, give them a +2 on knowledge local checks, or knowledge nature checks if it's just nature based and it's not in a city. And having these titles not only says, you know, this in-game bonus, it's something cool that the player can say, well, I'm the wolf tracker so-and-so, or I'm, you know, the exploration guru of whatever. It's in-game, out-of-game, and it gives like a small competitive edge, and it's a nice thing to add as another bonus to a reward. Favors are excellent in really long-running campaigns because it gives the opportunity to have reoccurring NPCs, foster relationships, and if a situation arises where the players need something done but they can't do it themselves, they have favors that they can call up on. Any fantasy story or fantasy series or series in general, and books or movies, tends to have this kind of theme where you meet a person in the beginning and then it turns out later that they're so-and-so and they're really important, or they're not important, but you can call up a favor and say, oh, I need this, you know, person bribed, or whatever. Followers and service is the same thing. You know, maybe you save some important or unimportant NPC who is getting the crap beat out of him in an alley, and the players decide to stop or to help him getting from being mugged, and the NPC decides, hey, yeah, you guys are so awesome. I want to thank you. So I'm gonna follow you, and I'm gonna pledge my life to in service to you, or I'm gonna cook for you every night at the camp that you guys stop at, or just something small like that. And that provides more story expansion, but it's also an instant reward, and it's something that can be kept throughout game time. Experience as a bonus is also something that can be done. I don't normally tend to do it, but I will do it occasionally for players that go above and beyond the call, or maybe they're the last player alive and they, you know, get that killing blow across the enemy or whatever that saves the party. So that little buff of experience is their extra reward, their extra incentive of saying, you know, hey, good job on that. You did really awesome. Here's your reward. Buffs is the last thing I said, which is something that can be said almost, for example, a player rescues a priest or does some kind of service for a religion, and in return the priest blesses the player and gives them, you know, a +2 AC divine bonus or something that will allow them to, you know, have a better AC, but it will only last a certain amount of time. These different kinds of bonuses and treasures and rewards allow you as a DM to expand upon the basic reward premise of what's in the book. And by doing this, is you'll often find that your players are excited about it. They're excited about these rewards, and it's not just, oh, I'm going to write this down on my character sheet as gold, or I'm going to write this down as an item that I'm going to sell off later. Now I'm going to give a couple tips, and then we're probably going to stop this video about rewards. This tip is called Same Treasure, Different Face. And what do I mean by that? So take any magic item or any item in general, within the player's handbook or core rulebook, whatever system you're using, and give it a new face. What do I mean by that? Let's say, for example, we're talking about a wand of true sight. So you've got this wand, and I charge it, and now I have true seeing. Well, great, I've got this wand, and let's change it up. So instead of just saying, I've given you this wand of true seeing, the players open a chest and they find a monocle. The monocle is obviously magical. They do an arcana check. They find it has magic in it, and when activated it goes red. And then you don't say that it has true seeing, you read the description, a little bit of the description of true seeing. You say this monocle allows you to see the world for what it really is, and you can see past enemy shrouds and invisibility. You don't say true seeing, you just say, oh, it does this. So they're like, ooh, I've got this cool monocle now, and I can see things for what they are. So you can have somebody in the group who has a wand of true seeing, and you can also have this monocle, and it makes it two different things and two different treasures, but they do the same thing. It's a clever sleight of hand by the DM. It's a wonderful thing to do, so that way not everyone has to have the same kinds of treasure, but you don't have to create new effects for it. The last thing I want to do is give a tip for higher level items that, or just items in general that you think your players are just going to toss off, like, oh, I've got a +1 bastard sword, now I've got a +2 bastard sword, I'm going to keep the +2. Give the certain items in your campaign, give them backstory, give them flavor. What you'll often find when you do this is that +1 bastard sword won't get thrown away if it's called, instead of being a +1 bastard sword, that is called Soul Shredder or something. And it's called Soul Shredder because it was wielded by Knight Commander Mormont the Fourth of the Grand Legion of the Army, who went into the hell or whatever, and you create this whole side story about it, and it's this historical artifact almost, where your player feels good that they're wielding this +1 instead of just having to wield the +2. These small backstories can lead into whole campaigns, whole side missions, whatever you want to do with it. But this differentiation in the reward makes it more worthwhile to the player than just this is a +1, this is +2. It makes it more than a stat block, and that's what you're really going for as a DM when you're making a reward. You want it to be something memorable, you want it to be something the player wants to have and will keep. So this has been a brief discussion about rewards and what you can do to give your players as rewards and treasures, and how to make and evolve your treasure hoards. And remember, to the victor goes the spoils. Thanks for watching, guys.